Welcome back to the Growth Mindset segment sponsored by the Gainesville Podcast Studio. I am your host, Nehemiah Harmon, and I'm here today with a good friend that I recently met, Alex. We're going to have an amazing conversation. So I'm going to let Alex introduce himself and tell you a little bit about him.
Yeah, I'm Alex Mclain, originally from Nashville. I've lived a very interesting, I feel like almost uniquely American journey, meaning like it could only happen in America.
Mm.
A lot of it of just the diversity of experience. And so, I did everything from very sort of traditional mainstream type of education and career and corporate and what have you, and then also have taken very extreme alternate routes in exploring different dimensions of lifestyle and wellness and spirituality and sort of personal growth, self transformation, and then sort of integrating it back into society through entrepreneurship, through creativity, through community building. That's kind of a weave of sort of synthesis that I feel like that encapsulates the best of the spirit of America, of like we are a land and a people of like synthesis. Like take the best of like each of our background and culture and experience and science and tech and spirituality and create like the optimal type of world and society. I feel like that's the real potential of this country. And I want to help sort of bring back that mindset to really like celebrate. Let's celebrate the positive. Yeah, we have problems, but that's also like opportunities to create new solutions. And I'd love to help nurture like that type of like mindset shift, like back to that, which I feel like is where we want to be.
I love that.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I would love to start our conversation today with the moments that we have with talking about building relationships.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about some of the fundamental relationships. And for me, it's childhood. I will share a quick story with you. One of
Yeah.
my clients, she was sharing with me that she has her son's probably like 14 teenage years. And she was saying that he had communicated to her. Well, she was kind of like saying, like, hey, I got you involved in these sports and these things so you can go out and meet friends and be able, because he was homeschooled, like you can go and meet friends and build relationships. And his response was, it's very hard to make friends with people who already have friends. And
Mm,
I thought it was like just nail on the head. I was like,
mm-hmm.
I've never
Yeah.
thought about it. I was like, but he is 100% right about the
Yeah.
situation. Like
Yeah.
from our perspective, because me and his mom are probably similar, meaning that I walk in a room and I'm just like, hey, everybody's my friend and everybody likes me. I'm gonna go meet a new person, right?
I love that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just collecting them all at this point, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas like
Yeah.
there are individuals who they don't perceive the world in that same way.
Yeah.
So oftentimes they're looking to be invited. And one of the hardships of that is for like that 14-year-old, it's like, it's hard to make friends with people who already have friends. This may
Yeah.
have been easier when nobody had friends. Like we're all 5, 6 in kindergarten.
Yeah,
Like, yeah. He's like,
yeah.
but
We're
now,
like that first
yeah,
week of school, that first week of college, everyone is like so open to everything, but quickly like the bubbles and the patterns do like set
exactly.
back, condense.
So
Yeah.
for you, when you think about what he said, how does it resonate with you? And what are some of your experiences with how you built friendships through life in at every level, really?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I think for me growing up, sports was so central to my, I think, identity and growth as a human being. Some of it I think maybe stemmed from, difficulties I faced in childhood, and sports was just kind of like a nice escape and something that at least in like my chosen endeavor, like I was good at that one thing. And I think that that really gave me a leg up, and just like getting to know people over, of different backgrounds, of different sort of things. It's like I think it's often a survival tool that we choose as human beings. I think for some people it's like sense of humor. It's like, okay, I'm gonna like figure out how to be funny, or I'm gonna figure out how to be helpful or problem solver, or I'm gonna figure out, different sorts of things. I think it was a passion, but also a little bit of like a survival adaptation. I think to have, something like that where there's a team, there's relationships, there's meaning to it, and so that was probably my like central, yeah, operating system.
So if you had to go back to more of the adolescent years, when you recall to the best of your memory, did people gravitate towards you, or did you have to go out and put yourself in the environments to make friends?
I think both. And I think it changed during different seasons of my life. You know, there were phases I think it was very innate and natural to just be relate. I think I'm similar to you. Like
Mhm.
I've never looked at people as like social groups or like the cool kids or the like I've always just like people are cool doing their own thing,
Right.
right? So that was my natural mindset. I think I went through periods, you know, in like late adolescence, early teenage years that were really challenging because some things went through some family difficulties at home that I think just disrupted a lot of that kind of like just flow and self-confidence. And I changed schools in the middle of that. So then like in high school, in 10th grade, I started at like a completely different high school, which was a very different type of experience. And so you know, again, kind of sports like the soccer team kind of was my lead in, and then just like slowly, organically getting to know people and just kind of dispelling the fear. Because what I found is people like in general are like on the balance of things like kind. Wherever I've gone in the world, like they are kind. There may be conflating circumstances where it's sort of difficult to sort of break into this to the social stream, but people at the end of the day are kind and I think for anyone like looking to break into whether it's a social group at school or at work or whatever, is, you know, rather than putting like, I think all the chips on the table of like, I just want to meet friends, like find something that's like a common interest or skill development. So there's some basis of commonality of like, you know, hey, like let's go rock climbing or let's do this, let's do that. And just like, you know, give the relationship a chamber to arise organically as much as possible, I think is the best way.
Yeah. With building relationships, friendships, or whatever the case may be for me, one of my super hacks is
Yeah.
I like to ask people questions and genuinely care. So I
Yeah.
don't pretend to care. Like that's the key to it. Like if you can ask someone questions and genuinely care about their answers. And for me, what I do is very quickly try and sift through the basics. And I
Yeah.
can typically tell from inflections what a person wants to talk more about. So I'll probably start with, "Hey, what's your name?" You'll tell me your name, and I'll probably ask, "What is it that you do?" Right, and see if you light up and you immediately go into passion. But if you don't, you just give me, "Yeah, I'm a banker," or "I work in finance." Then I was like, then I'll probably go to the next thing. Is like, what are you into as far as like hobbies? If that doesn't light you up, then I'll
Yeah.
go into relationships that you have. If your wife's in the room asking questions about her, do you light up for that? If that doesn't do it, then the kids. And at some point, I just keep digging until I find
Yeah.
something, right? But once I found the thing,
Yeah.
then it becomes super, super easy to
Yeah.
make super connections because once I found like the thing that you're passionate about, you love
Yeah.
to talk about, I'm not going
Yeah.
to make you talk about anything else. I'm just going
Yeah.
to continue to genuinely care about the one thing that you actually care about in that moment. And
Yeah.
it makes building relationship very easy. And that's been my super secret hack to how
Yeah.
I do it. So
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you
I love
had
that.
to give your top secret of how you approach, again, and I will say for me how I learned that about myself is I started to ask myself, how am I doing this? Because people would tell me like you're very kind, you're very friendly, you can make friends with anybody, there are no strangers. So I had to ask myself like, well, why is
Yeah.
that the case for me and not for other people? Like what am I actually doing different than anyone else? And it wasn't that I was intentionally like training myself to care. It's the fact that I genuinely do. Like
Yeah.
that's my secret. Is
Yeah.
like my secret is like I will ask you questions, find out what you are interested in, and then I'm not going to pretend like I care.
Yeah.
I'm going to genuinely
Yeah.
care.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I love that. I
yeah,
love that. And I think it speaks one of my beliefs is that our operating system is human beings, emotionally, our personality, our thought process is so much more adaptable and trainable and buildable than I think a lot of people realize. And I think a lot of us think like from childhood we're programmed with how you know, whether we thought we were dumb at school or good at school. And a lot of those beliefs have nothing to do with our actual intelligence. They have to do with like the teachers and the adults or just like the curriculum being full of shit, which most of it is with so many things, right? So, you know, I think like I think a powerful sort of mind technology that I think more and more people are talking about becoming aware of is just the ability we can reprogram ourselves through belief, through intention, through so many different techniques. I think spirituality and religion can be helpful with a lot of those similar dimensions too. I don't even remember your original question, but I think it's like, sorry, but like the
Yeah.
point I was wanting to get to, the fact that you care.
Mhm.
And some people, it's like you can train stuff like that to care. And people, for me, people are attracted to passion. So I've always really very like ruthlessly pursued the things I'm passionate about. And that has involved for me moments of disillusionment of the thing that I was passionate about that I thought was my dream, like that shattering. And that's happened to me multiple times. And being able to adapt and evolve and change assumptions and just continue to sort of build forward positively, I think is the ultimate superpower. Because my belief is like nothing can stop us in life as long as like we stay integrous and just keep going with faith. That's been my experience so far. So
I love that.
yeah.
So here's an observation that I've made in life. I would
Yeah.
love your feedback and what you think about the observation, whether you agree, disagree, or what your experience
Sure.
has been.
Sure.
So when I look out on the playground and I see
Yeah.
kids 5 and under, I've never seen any of them and thought, you lack imagination.
Yeah.
So I think we're all pre-built with it,
Yeah.
right? So here's the
Yeah. Okay.
question.
Yeah.
We have encountered adults where it's like, you really lack imagination. Like you
Yeah.
don't have the ability. And the question is, when and where did we lose it for those who did, right? And I like to kind of frame it in, we have 3D kids living in a 2D world. It's like
Hmm.
you really are very expressive. You are completely different than every other kid on the playground. But at some point, we conform to the 2D world and we live it out and we start to lose the ability to simply imagine. Once again, my
Right.
observation. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And you're pointing to some very deep questions as to how society consciously or unconsciously is engineered, right? And like what is that program and the mechanics of that program? Because it does seem to be universal. Like children are innately like happy, blissful, joyful, right? It's like the relative level. I have a teacher who makes this point, which is so great, which is like, think of like the relative level of joy you had when you were 5 years old, right? Just like innately, like simple, stupid things, like so much joy. And how much joy do you have now just in like your normal waking moments? And it's like, don't you think if we were really living life correctly, it should actually like grow and enhance over time, not diminish? So I agree with your diagnosis. Like something is wrong in the way that we are presently, like I think, growing and developing a lot.
And I believe
Yeah.
imagination is our common superpower for those who maintain it. Like imagination is a superpower. Like
Yeah.
I can be anywhere in the world at any time simply by imagining it. Like
Right.
I can achieve a level of freedom at any moment, at any time,
Yeah.
simply by the will of my imagination.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
create anything in the world. It's one thing to bring into the physical manifestation of, making it tangible for others. But as far
Yeah.
as the actual, like anything I want to create, I can actually do it with my imagination. It's such a powerful tool to lose.
Yeah. It is. It is. It is. And like it is. And so, well, this you're cutting to the heart of the issue. And I think imagination is the thing. And if we want to begin to discover, my mind is very like engineering and science, even though I'm not really like a formal scientist, but like let's like reverse engineer things by some of the results that we observe, right? And so to your point, people who expounded this idea of like imagination, imagining like a new earth, imagining a new way of doing things, imagining a new society, we could look at like MLK, Gandhi, JFK in a lot of ways. I mean, even John Lennon, the song Imagine. Like, what happened to these people? They got assassinated. Okay. So, like, that is a pattern that we should not ignore about the world that we live in. And so, a lot of my life, these past 10 years in particular, have been really going in under the hood. So, I went to school in New York, worked in finance, worked in Silicon Valley. I was, witness to some big acquisitions and different sorts of things happening. And then in my entrepreneurial journey, particularly with my wife, Neha, we got to experience all those things like ourselves as entrepreneurs, dealing with the real teeth in the inner programming of the system, a lot of which is really, really vicious. Um, but we've also found there's ways to operate and also not be limited by it. And I feel like you embody that with the mindset and spirit that you're doing. A lot of people are reaching that same realization now. And I think we have the opportunity to sort of kind of create an alternative kind of program to where the imagination doesn't need to be shut down. In fact, like it's celebrated as the solution.
Love that.
Yeah.
Here's a second observation
Yeah.
I had. I have young
Yeah.
kids, and I've noticed the way they perceive time is so different from us. And I realize as we get older, time goes by a lot faster.
Yeah.
And went back to
Yeah.
perception. I remember, under 3 years old, like 4, 3, 2, 1, can talk at that age. When you tell them that they have to wait until tomorrow, tomorrow's an entire lifetime.
Yeah.
Like they have no concept of like tomorrow doesn't, like, you don't get it. Tomorrow doesn't exist. Like today is the only day that exists. And when you tell me tomorrow, I have no concept of it. That's forever away.
Yeah.
And it's only to, like, my kids are now 8. So now
Oh,
they
okay.
perceive time in like weeks, like how many days, how many weeks, like they get it now, but it's still much slower, right? Than
Yeah.
how I perceive time. It's like, it's been 3 weeks and it's only been 3 hours at the same time for me. Like
Yeah.
it moves like that fast. Like, what did you do 3 days ago? I have no idea. I've just been doing.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so to
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
about
Yeah.
the dissonance of time in which that relates, and the reality of it is like, it's only a perception. Like we are truly like given the same amount of time, right? But the way in which they perceive it, as we perceived it when we were little, is like, today's the only day that really matters.
Right.
Like tomorrow is a lifetime away.
Yeah.
And there's so much more to do today.
Yeah.
I want to get it done today. Whereas now it's like, I can do it tomorrow. Let's push that off to tomorrow. Let's schedule
Right.
that out much further.
Right.
Whereas like as kids, like, no, like, can I do it now?
Yeah.
And another part, once again, going to timing, once they have some relative sense of time, when you tell them, says, hey, can I play this with this toy? You say it's not right now. We perceive that as a no. A child would just says, okay, and they'll come back. Can I
Yeah.
do it now? Not right now.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not a no. It's not right now, but it is definitely almost a yes.
Yeah.
It's just not right now. Whereas for us, we lose that ability too. So when it doesn't happen now, it's as if it will never happen.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, I agree with that. That's a very interesting observation of children revealing. I think this is a big thing that I feel like in particular, I think parents of like our generation are celebrating more, is realizing like there's certain dimensions the kids are actually way more intelligent than we are, right? And we can observe that and learn from that and take inspiration from that. One of the things, like being in the moment and seeking to fully be in the moment and find full expression in every moment. Rather than just thinking, well, they're just like undeveloped and don't perceive the future. Like that's such like a dumb way to like just like put a kid in a box, right? When so I really love that about your mindset and your observation. That's really beautiful. I got you as you were talking, got me thinking. It's like I think one of the dimensions of our world is it's still operating from a very like law of the jungle programming. And so one analogy coming to mind is like a squirrel, for example. So like a squirrel is an animal that displays some concept of time, right? Because it's conscious of the seasons, the changing seasons, and right, it's gonna save up food, nuts to store it up for winter, so it can continue to feed itself for winter. So it's a dimension of intelligence, awareness, consciousness of present action to future positive result, right? And that's great, but is there a line where it's like enough acorns or enough acorns? There's not like further utility. Like if I have 1,000 acorns and that's enough to get me through winter, like do I need to do I need to risk myself getting hunted by like hunting at night or something to get more acorns of that? The point I'm trying to get to is like I feel like our world, because we're at this kind of very late stage capitalism where every corporation has to continue to make more money than the year they made before. I feel like we're in this like acorn hoarding phase of society with a lot of ways where it's like we're all so focused on just gathering more acorns without even thinking about of like, is this even what's best or optimal or enjoyable? Because as an entrepreneur, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs in particular would be resonant with this, there's actually like this subtle dance of being nimble that provides like the best sort of feng shui of activity and nimbleness. And it's not just about accumulating the most of one particular thing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense
Yeah,
at all?
100% does.
Yeah. Okay.
For me, it resonates.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
I give you the red button, and
Ooh.
the power of the red button is this.
Okay.
When you press it, everyone will agree upon this one thing. So if you now have the power to choose, everyone agrees on this concept, this principle, whatever it is, but we all inherently, everyone on the planet, we all agree on this. What's the one thing that you would have us agree on, and how would it make the world instantly better?
I would say the word I would say is oneness, which is to me realizing our oneness, not just in some hippy dippy like, oh, we're all, one thing and let's sing at the campfire, but like no, really realizing that like we are sort of cells or organs in this like unified body of creation and life on planet Earth, which in the context of the universe, like this is a pretty little cozy community here, right? In this otherwise like vast and in empty space. And so, the actions and choices and I believe personally, even like thoughts and intentions that I have an impact, not just on me, but on the people around me, my family, my friends, my community. And there's also no escaping sort of that in some way I'm going to re-experience whatever it is I'm putting out as well. And I think if we can just kind of calmly remember the oneness of not just as like a feel-good philosophy, but a reality and a reminder that like there's no escaping responsibility ultimately, right? So we better work together consciously to do, to do what's best for the highest and most people, because I'm also included in that aspiration. Like if I'm genuinely seeking to offer and do what's best for the, highest and most number of people, it also makes the world a better place for me. And I think that is, a mindset that could go a long way.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I would co-sign you pressing that button.
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I love that.
Let's do it.
And to piggyback off of that, this is one of my beliefs that I carry is I don't really subscribe to ownership, rather stewardship. Right. So
100%.
I'm responsible for managing things well, and what you will not manage, you will lose. But what you manage well, you will get more to manage. And so an example of that, when I think about what could matter most for me, right? In the belief systems that I have, what could matter most is the interactions that I have with other human beings. And what I mean by that is I don't believe it's happenstance that I'm sitting across from you. So I have two options. One, I could be so obsessed with my life and what is going on with my life that you're just a non-factor. Like my life is happening right now.
Yeah.
Or I could be aware of the fact that what is the likelihood out of billions of people you're sitting across from me? Should I steward this moment as if you matter that much? And for me, when I think about it, it's like, why would I answer my phone or text right now? Why would I not be in this moment and steward the opportunity to share this lived experience in this moment with you that, once again, I may never get again. There's no crystal ball. I may never get it again. And I've never had it before. So why not steward this one as if it's the most important one to manage?
Yeah. I love that. Exactly. I mean, exactly. It's like, I agree 100%. And I think we could also press that button because it's it's so easy to take so many things for granted in a world that's so noisy and seems to have like an abundance of options and things. And I think one thing about the digital world is it creates perception that we get like infinite redos, because like in the digital realm, if like I can delete it, I can do it again. And like actually so much of life really, it doesn't work that way. Like in the long run, yes, but in the immediate run, like I've realized like for most things, it's one shot to really make the most of it, to really have the biggest impact. And I think leaning into almost like the pressure, not in a like tense way, but in a like leaning in of, this is a special opportunity and I'm going to conduct myself as if this is like the only moment I have to do it in my entire life. Um, I think that achieves the greatest resonance and the greatest, impact. And I think that's something I think really great entrepreneurs are able to sort of lean into that too, to create a sense of urgency and presence on their team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to give you this analogy. Have scotch tape, the kinds you use to wrap gift papers with. So the thin, clear one, got it in
Yeah.
your mind?
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna pull it, we're gonna, cut it off a little bit, and we probably have this much of it.
Yeah.
And as you could imagine, if I start to stick it on surfaces, I stick it to the door, right? It probably sticks pretty well. But then I, pull it off and then I stick it to the wall. And it doesn't stick as well, but it sticks. And then I pull it off and I then stick it to the rug. And it still sticks, not as much, but each time it's easier to pull off, right? And I keep putting it onto surface and surface and surface. And it still sticks. It just doesn't stick as well. And every new surface, it becomes easier to pull it off of. And I think that's what it's like in relation to anything. Whatever I attach myself to the first time, I bond to it very strongly. But as I remove myself from it and attach myself to something new, I can, but it's not as strong as the attachment of the other one, especially if I'm using the same tape, right? Conceptually. When I look at things that way, it makes me think of the importance of intentionality and what you attach yourself to. Friendships, relationships, job opportunities, career paths, decisions, just in general. All these are decisions.
Yeah.
So with the analogy that I just given you, what do you think is the most important things for you to attach yourself with is this clear piece of tape as of right now?
Attach myself to?
Yeah. So if you had a fresh piece of tape, what's the first surface that you would stick it to and says, I feel super confident that I'm not going to have to rip it off this surface because the bond's already, it's locked in.
I think a positive joy and faith-driven mindset, I think, is number one. And I've discovered this not initially through blind faith, but through experience. And now I feel comfortable leaning into faith because I understand the principle, right? You talk about like principle of stewardship, right? Once we understand the principle, we can operate in like a state of faith that it's going to work this way because it works that way, right? I realized like in my entrepreneurial journey, like I realized, you know what? Every shitty decision I've made has come from a state of fear. Every single one came out of fear, anxiety, feeling like I should do this. Like I feel guilty. I feel like I should do this, or I feel like I should agree to that term, or I feel like I should be doing something. Rather than nothing in a particular situation. But I think, that's what I realized. I've gotten the biggest trouble I've gotten into has been through fear and hesitation, and there are some philosophies in the East that teach that that's actually the greatest human sin is hesitation. And I believe it in a way. And so that's what I'm focused on right now. I'm in a season of a lot of transitions and kind of new relationships, new opportunities. And beyond the capacity of my mind to logically like, oh, how's this puzzle going to fit together? And how is it supposed to fit together? Really just letting go of all of that logic, which I think the system programs us to be so logic centric that it shuts the imagination to anything that's outside what we could logically explain or discern. So I feel like I've gone through a phase where I've learned to sort of shut that down, that kind of reptilian, just like logic-based mind down, and just be open and allow the faith in just, kind of life itself to weave what's needed. And as long as I show up each moment to the best of my ability, like the best situation will come from that. That's what I would like stick myself to. That's what I am sticking myself to right now. I mean, I didn't know I would be on this show, 30 minutes ago, but here we are, and it's great.
I love that you're here.
Yeah.
So going back to the other analogy, so we can pull a little bit off of it, pun intended. In your life, as you've seen yourself be, stuck to certain things, pulled off to the next thing, and being attached to something else in the next thing, can you talk about the challenge of being removed from one ideology, one thought, one relationship, any of the sort, right? Being removed from one, and the difficulty of trying to stick to another because of the residue that was left from the surface before?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's one thing I've realized that I think may be helpful for more people to feel into is realizing that like pain isn't always a negative feedback, right? Because like anytime we unstick ourselves from something, a relationship, a job, or whatever, it's always painful. It's going to be painful. It's never like not gonna be painful. But it's like, how much grace and equanimity and courage am I showing through that process? I find the more I can just go through it directly, not shy away from it, not inflate it to this, oh, I'm feeling pain, so I must be doing something wrong. Just going through it, seem to get through it faster and cleaner. That's just been my experience. But I think pain isn't always a negative feedback. I mean, it's necessary to nature and to existence. We wouldn't know how to survive if we didn't have pain input. So just because you're feeling pain doesn't mean it's bad. I think taking time to focus on oneself is important. I've gone through seasons of isolation or pulling back where it's just me and my wife. I think those are super key. Like I've spent time at in different sort of places, whether it's yoga or meditation or Buddhism, or even more recently, kind of getting back to the roots of my Christian faith as well. Like all of that's been so rejuvenating and necessary to like just refresh the operating system for a new season of life. Because ultimately, like the new season doesn't need to have anything to do with the old season. If we don't want it to, it can be completely different. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. So here is one of my fun takeaways for that analogy for people. One of the mistakes that we make, so we think about the analogy, right? I said that, we take a piece of tape and we're sticking it, can represent the relationships or things we choose to bond ourselves with. And oftentimes the challenge is that people identify as if they are the tape and not realizing that they are the person who is ripping the tape. So the easiest thing to do, because once again, sticking the same tape to different surfaces and pulling the residue off of each one and experiencing what I consider the frustration and the pain of trying to make it work the same way over and over again without realizing that I have the power of saying, I'm going to tear a new piece of tape, right? So what this looks like practically, right? Imagine if you had a friendship. Me and you have been best friends for the last 15 years, and we go through so many different seasons of life that it causes residue in each one of those where there's just this dissonance, right?
Yeah.
And we can continue to try and linger on to this one that's not sticking very well, or we can come to meeting of the minds and says, you know what? This version of our friendship, it doesn't work. Let's start a new one.
I love that.
We could say today we rip a new piece of tape.
Yeah.
Like this is the one that represents us now, not that one.
Yeah.
And once again, we can do that same thing with opportunities, business careers, interpersonal relationships, whatever you want to attach that idea to. It's just realizing that you're not the tape, but we treat ourselves like as the decisions that we make. Like I made this decision, so this decision defines me, and I am the decision. So the thing is, if I made a bad decision, then I must be a bad person, right? But realizing that, okay, I can make good decisions, bad decisions, but I am not the decision that I made.
Mm,
I'm not the thing that I bonded myself to.
right.
It was a decision, and I now can have control of deciding. It's not very smart to take that same piece of tape and try and stick it to a new surface. It would be better for me to rip a new piece of tape. Let me start over. Whatever that looks like for me,
Yeah.
let me start over fresh. And an example of that is, imagine going into a new relationship, a new business opportunity, or whatever the case may be, and you're already predestined with the residue of this may fail because this one fell this way. So I'm going to take that in here, because once again, wisdom's one thing to take,
Yeah.
but to
Yeah.
take
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
take the belief of this is going to happen the same way, and I'm going to operate out of what you said, the
Yeah.
fear of that. When you realize, like, no, if I
Yeah.
attach it as if this is something new, I'm going to bring all the wisdom and experiences that I've had for everything else, but I'm going to treat this like it's something new because it is,
Yeah.
and it allows it to be.
I very much agree with that. I very much agree with that completely. I think it happens to lots of people in relationships where it's like that same they'll go from relationship to relationship, but the underlying program and belief system hasn't changed. So it's like, did you have 3 relationships, or did you date the same person 3 times in a row? Because the experience and the outcome was the same. So I totally agree. I mean, I think that's like, these are the skills I think that should be taught to children, is this process, right? Particularly in our age of so much change and with AI and whatever. No one has a crystal ball and knows exactly what does the future look like? What does jobs and prosperity look like? Is it even the same sort of even like structure to society? Like, we really don't know where we're going to be 5, 10 years from now. So I think like the greatest skill for both adults and children is these subtle inward meta skills of how do I kind of rewire and reprogram my mind as effortlessly as possible. And I think you're pointing to some really important ones of like attachment, right? To be involved but not overly attached, where it's like I can't, by my own yeah, a teacher of mine talks about, it's like coffee in the morning. Like, you don't need to be like, because in like like elements of like the yogic system, you're not supposed to have caffeine or whatever. But he's like, look, like, it's not like don't have coffee in the morning because it's bad. Like, if you want to have coffee in the morning, have a coffee. But if on a particular day the coffee's not available, that shouldn't make you upset. That shouldn't disrupt your day, because then you're a slave to coffee. Like, the presence or non-presence of coffee controls like one's emotions, and we don't want to be a slave to anything in that way. So I think it applies to everything in life. It's like we want to be like I want to be fully present, but also accepting in situations where things may not be optimal, because that also puts me in the best position to adapt and respond, I think.
Can you speak a little bit on the importance of having a good partner? Because you've been blessed to have your wife, and so you
Yeah.
work together, you have a company together. So for you, because once again, you've had experiences with people before,
Yeah.
and you can choose to partner with people and have good, bad, ugly relationships, whatever the case may be. But what is the importance of finding a really good partner that you work really well with? And what does that look like for you? Like, the importance, and what is, like, if someone was to stumble upon it, how do they know that this is it for you?
Wow. Yeah. I feel so blessed and so fortunate. Like, Neha is my everything. She really is. And beyond my imaginations, like why I even like even like deserve her as a life partner. I mean, she's incredible. And I think a life partner is really, really important. I'll speak from like the male side because that's my experience of it. So, primarily, but I think it's so extremely important, because I think like one plus one isn't two. It's really like it's 11. Like, there's that much power in a relationship where both people are aligned. And I think what has enabled Neha and I to thrive together and to navigate some very difficult adversities and come through it really well, has been the fact that we have such a common mindset and common goal in life. And, I think in America, dating culture, at least sort of like the bottom legs of dating culture, like it's become so much based on like short-term sexual attraction and chemistry. And then we sort of try to reverse engineer that into, okay, like what about these other sort of bigger kind of lifetime length questions of like, what do I want to do while I'm here? What's like the purpose of my life? What's the purpose of our life together? What about like our families and our family lineage, right? So like in other cultures, like that part has been the driving force, which has been like family and lineage and sort of community cohesiveness and opportunity. Like there's so many more factors to marriage than just the two people feeling giggly with one another, right? And so I think with Neha and I, we sort of the universe created that experience for us. Like our families didn't, but the universe kind of brought us together in a way where we have like a common mission and vision already. So when we met, it's like, oh, this is already what you want to do with your life. It's what I want to do with my life. And it really evolved as like a great friendship. So I'm a firm believer in that like couples should be like friends first and then and then more than that, because I think like the friendship level and being aligned in core principles and vision is important, because otherwise like adversity and challenges and disagreements like are inevitable. And so that level of alignment and desire to achieve that desire is like means, are you going to make it through that or not as a couple? So I think, does that make sense? Like the true north
100%.
of the relationship needs to have a true north, I think. Yeah.
So I love asking married man, as I'm married myself, for us to play trading cards, right? So trading cards is I'll give you one of the ways I found success in showing love to my wife, and you will
Uh,
tell me one of the ways that you found success in showing love to your wife. Now,
mm,
given for the audience at home, this does not mean the same thing works for the same woman, because that's not how it works. It's the principles of what's
yeah.
behind the thing that you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with that disclaimer out of the way, for you, the question is, how do you like to show love to your wife?
Mm, that's such a good question. Um, so I have a wife that is not easily fooled by like material objects, right? So it's like that's never been the central. I mean, it's important, right, at times, but that's not like the magic wand, right? For anything. It's just showing that I care and showing that I listen and showing that I care about her, putting her needs ahead of my own, because I do feel like that is the role of the divine masculine, is to like put like a lot of people have said like masculinity is built, femininity is preserved, right? And so to do my best to honor that aspect of the divine feminine that is just like self-expressive and self-radiating, to really honor that and put that on a pedestal, not in like a like an Instagram way, but just like daily little things of like that I know she cares about and appreciate, just taking care of that for her in a loving way. And just listening with love, genuinely being interested, to kind of the way you interview and connect with people, like genuinely be interested in what's in her mind. What is that crazy dream that she had that she's looking for some comfort on? Like, it's easy for men to dismiss that stuff, but really sit with her as a friend and be like, okay, like tell me about that. What happened? And it's like 99% of the time, it's like, I don't have to do anything. It's just that process of just emotional release that it creates so much trust and goodwill in a relationship. When a man can begin to resonate with a woman at that level and take it seriously, it's like, I think, very, very positive and powerful. Yeah.
What's one thing that you've learned through the act of loving your wife?
Oh man, just like the beauty in being, just like the beauty in being, beauty in being selfless. Um, just like the beauty in that is what I've found is the way I would express it, because we've been very selfless with one another, and it's been the key to our relationship and our our survival through life's challenges and tribulations for sure. So
I love that.
devotion.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
So for me, I look at marriage through the lens of my faith. So I'm a Christian, and so when I think about what marriage is and what my role is as a husband, what my faith teaches me is that in order to love my wife, I have to love her as Christ loves me, being willing to die for her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So it's the
absolutely.
daily deaths, right?
For
And
sure.
what it can look like practically is I could be right, but I could also be wrong in the way that I say it,
Yeah.
the emotion when I say it, any of those things. So instead of me being right for her to be wrong, I can be silent in those moments and have the grace for her to come to be in a place where she's willing to receive whatever truth or wisdom for that moment.
Yeah.
But I have to be in control of that by doing the same thing that Christ does for me.
Yeah.
And I'll give you an example of like for me, it's a couple pictures. I like to paint a couple pictures of what this looks like practically, right? So for me, when I think about my relationship to Christ, one, he is always faithful to me, although I have not always been faithful. And what I mean by that is I don't always do what he tells me to do. And if I
Yeah.
did, life would be perfect. It really
Yeah.
would if I was just obedient and did what I was told. And in the
Yeah.
same way, if my wife just did what I tell her to do, like everything would be perfect, but she doesn't. And here's the thing. Am I allowed to be frustrated with her, get upset with her, get angry with her, lash out to her because she's not doing what I want her to do? Or do I look at the relationship I have with my father and says, you know what? When I'm not obeying, you still love me unconditionally, truly, consistently. Which brings me to my second tip, my next trading card. I've learned through loving my wife in this way the importance of consistency, because the only reason I know that God loves me is because he's never changed. He's been consistent in his love
Right.
for me. It
Yeah.
never wavered on whether or not I behaved in such a way or if I wanted to with any, like I did not dictate that he is love and he's bestowing that love upon me. So in that same
Yeah.
way, if I'm called to love my wife, I start to realize I can't waver in my character. I have to show consistency, and it's not dependent on when she is doing the things that I seem is pleasing or is doing the things that I want to do, or if she's having an attitude or not having an attitude, she's having a moment or not having a moment. I have to show consistency all the time. Very hard standard to hold up,
It
but
is. Yeah.
the
It's true though.
ramifications of it is
Yeah.
she begins to look at it as, oh, well, you must truly love me because no matter what I do or how I do things wrong or the mistakes that I make, it's not going to change how you love me because I am loved. And the only reason I know that love is because no matter what I do, he is consistent in his love for me.
Yeah.
And it's a very hard thing to do, given try it on your own risk. So it's a
Yeah.
hard thing to do.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the concept of that when you strive for it, what it does for me, like in learning that and experiencing that and practicing that, back to what you says, you learn the humility. Another thing that's taught me is the grace. Like I learn how much grace I've been given,
Yeah.
not just by from God, but also from my wife, because I failed. I have failed at my role of being consistent. I have failed at my role of loving her the way that he loves me. Like I have failed, missed that mark. So not only am I
Yeah.
receiving grace from God, I'm also receiving grace from my wife. And that is enough for me to continue to strive to says, I want to do better tomorrow. 2% better. That's what I oftentimes tell anyone. It's like my goal, 2% better. I was like, it's going to compound over time. I was like, but my goal is 2% better. I'm just going to do 2% better than whatever I did before. I'm going to be able to isolate, identify where I need to be better, and then to start to work on that. And one of
Yeah.
the most recent ones that I found,
Yeah.
started to ask myself, well, how is it that Christ demonstrates his love for me in the most consistent basis? And some would say it's in what he says to us, the word that he's given. So I think that in the same way with my wife, right? And it made me become a better steward of how I spoke to her and the things that I said. Because here's the reality. She could get upset and she needs to express herself and she can express herself unfiltered. I, however, have to steward my words in such a way that it is
Yeah.
always loving
Yeah.
and is always on time,
Yeah.
right? a
Yeah.
completely unrealistic standard, but just simply practicing that and going 2% better every single day is enough for me to continue to learn that words really do matter,
Yeah.
because I have to steward every single one of them. I have to own every single one of them. I have to manage every single one of them. And it's not in relation to, well, I'll do it if you do it. That's not how it works.
No.
I must do it.
Yeah.
That's it. If you don't do it, totally fine. I must do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so that's my trading card: consistency and managing our
Yeah.
words, man.
I agree. I agree with the principles that you're pointing out, because it's true. It's really true. I think a lot of men, particularly wealthy men, they think transactionally about everything. So that there's a temptation as a man to apply that to my relationship of, like, kind of keep track. Oh, I did like this nice thing for my wife, and I did this nice thing, and I bought this thing. Keep track. So she owes me this, or I shouldn't have to worry about this. And it just doesn't work that way. It is a consistent, unconditional, perpetual sort of state of grace and acceptance of her, and support of her, and yeah, like, especially, like, loving her the way Christ loved the church. That's unconditional, divine, sacrificial love. Like, that's like an
Willing.
willing, sacrificial love. And I do agree, like, that is the role of the man. I think in terms of the feminine, I think a lot of folks underappreciate the importance of women in the Bible as well, because Jesus was born to a woman. The first person he performed a miracle for, I believe, was a woman. Um, and then who were the first to find him when he was resurrected?
Women.
Women, right? And go back to Proverbs and Solomon, like, talk about Lady Wisdom, Lady Sophia, what have you. And so I think, like, just I think in the Bible, I think God spells a lot of this out implicitly, but it's obvious, like, women are cherished and valued, and really, really important. And so, I think one of the sort of the secrets that men need to know, especially thinking about relationships and dating and partnership, is, like, that woman, like, she is actually the source of your power. She is, like, in the East, there's a word like Shakti, like energy, but, like, she is actually sort of that. To me, I really see my wife as an embodiment of, like, God's grace in my life, and so, of course, like, I must serve that and love that. And I can say from experience, like, that type of mindset yields a lot of tremendous results, like, in real life with whatever I want to do, because I've shown her that devotion. She also reciprocates that devotion with my dreams and aspirations for what I want to do in the outward world. And that just, it feels like such a boost to me to have that support behind me, from my partner as well.
Yeah, which is a
Does that make
great
sense?
absolutely,
Yeah.
which is a great segue to my second follow-up question to the
Yeah.
topic of, having that right partner. Can you
Yeah.
talk about the ways in which your wife shows respect to you that allows you to feel empowered to do all the amazing things that you've done?
Yeah. I mean, I think she does a great job, like, valuing my perspective, because I think I value her perspective. And I'm willing to go, because sometimes, say things or desire things that, like, are practically, like, unreasonable or not feasible, right? But, like, I've realized the right strategy is to just play it out. Like, let's just play it out. Okay, I'll go along. Like, let's play it out so we can see. And I think, I have to recognize, like, I am equally ridiculous sometimes in my beliefs or expectations, or, like, what I think I can pull off. And so I appreciate that she's always open and supportive to whatever I want to imagine, but also has a lot of wisdom, as well, in terms of how I can approach it in the best possible way. So I feel love that way. I mean, she cooks. I mean, she's a medicine maker, right? That's
Mhm.
a lot of our entrepreneurship is in medicine and applied biotech with plant medicine. And so like I'm the biggest consumer of her medicine for sure.
Hey, love it.
So I'm a walking endorsement as well. But yeah. It's like a very
Nice. So,
beautiful synergy.
what would you say is a way in which your worldview has been shaped through that mutual love and respect that she's giving you, that gift that you've been given, the favor that you've been given, and how she loves and respects you? How has it begun to shape how you see the world in comparison to life before her?
Yeah, I mean it's radically different. I really like because of certain circumstances growing up. Like I really gave up on the idea of like marriage even being a good thing, to be honest, because I experienced like the down like some negative aspects of it. So I really sort of gave up on even the expectation of like having like a life partnership. I felt like I'd be probably better off just on my own and figuring things out. So but she, like it was at a moment when I wasn't looking was when we met. And so, I don't know, I got pulled in, can't help it. But like, that's like, in a way, how I know it's like so real and so true because I wasn't looking. I wasn't like, it just appeared. And I felt God's voice and saying, no, this is just walk in this direction. I know it's like not what you expected at this stage, but just yeah, walk through it. And I do believe like couples have a real superpower when they're in harmony for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a few more questions for with the time that I have with you. So the first one that I have is for you, if you had to, because we talked about a lot of things, but if you had to narrow down for you two limiting beliefs that you had, let's call them out for you throughout your life
Yeah.
and tell me how you overcame each one of those limiting beliefs and now what the belief system for you is now.
Wow, that's a deep one. I'm gonna take a little dose of inspiration. So this is one of my wife's.
Yep. Tell them
This
about the
is one of my
product.
wife's medicine. So these are pineapple express drink drops. So this is full spectrum organic hemp and astaxanthin, which is an antioxidant that rebuilds brain neurons. So this is like a form of hemp to make you mentally very like sharp and creative and alive. So it's kind of like a flow state or like a meditation in a bottle. So um yeah. So we're getting into the podcast and I'm feeling a little creative fatigue. So I'm taking a little bit of this to just get that that juice activated again, and it works really well. So, anyways,
Yep, two limiting beliefs that you had to overcome through your life. Tell me what they were, how you overcame them, and what are the belief systems that you carry today.
I just think honestly, the first thing coming to mind is believe it Romans 8. So there's no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, and my experience of so I've just kind of reawakened my relationship with Jesus in the last 12 months or so, but it's been so profound. And I realize from again kind of childhood programming beliefs that just I was like this subconscious beliefs that I was like condemned in some way, and to what you're saying, like permanently, like if I messed something up or made a decision, it revealed something about like my fundamental character that is permanent, right? And like despite having gone through so much personal growth and explored so many different things and transformed myself in so many ways, there's some of these deep programs that like I was not liberated from, and Christ has definitely been like that renewal, like conform not to the pattern of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And I Look, I have great respect and I have a lot of positive experiences with different modalities, but honestly, like Christ has been genuinely the best tool for that for
I love that. So,
yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, what's a second limiting? But actually, you know what? I want to speak on yours just a little bit before we move to the second one that
Yeah.
you'll give us. You know, I think that one of the hardest things for people to accept
Yeah.
is grace because it's freely given. It's unmerited favor,
Yeah.
right? So the natural response to a gift, so amazing, is, well, what can I do in exchange for it? No, it's not transactional in any way.
Yeah.
Well, like what can I do? Like there has to be something. Like there has. It's like no, like you don't understand.
Yeah.
There is nothing. You're right. You're not worthy of it, but it's freely given.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, make it make sense. Say, no. It's not meant to make sense. It's meant to be grace.
Yeah.
It's like it won't make sense to you. It won't feel right to you because it's not right. A merited favor is not right. It's not fair. It's not just. It's not right. It's grace is what it is.
Yeah.
You want me to fit into any other box rather realizing that it is the box itself. It is grace. Because even when we know we're forgiven, it's like, but what about how I feel? Like I still feel condemned. I still feel like shame. I still feel unworthy.
Yeah.
And then this would be the question that would be posed back to you. It says, if it's unmerited favor and it is something that I paid for, who gave you the right to have the condemnation, to hold on to the condemnation, to embrace the condemnation? Who gave you the right?
Yeah, no, that's such a good point, and I think to me it speaks to like, I think the devil gets too much credit for a lot of things because we do so much of it we do to ourselves. We really do, right? And it's like, who gives me God? Like God has a vision for my life, like knowing the character of God, at least at a level that I do now. God wants what's a beautiful, prosperous, joyful experience of life, right? And but he also needs like my experience. It can't be like at the expense of other people, or it can't be at the expense of those who are less powerful than me. But really like to serve, to serve one another in love. And that's what I've realized is like it's actually the best way. Like just as like grace is sort of unconditional, unmerited. Like I think that also breaks a lot of the mentality of like around suffering being good, which I also think is in our societal programming a lot of like life involves some suffering, but it's like I had to go through some family programs of no, like this suffering, I'm going to hold on to it because I know I'm going to get like rewarded some way because I've suffered a lot. I deserve like some relief, or I don't know, like that programming at least was within me that I had to realize and sort of let go of, because I can only I can serve God best when I'm happy and joyful and healthy. Like that's the reality. Right. So I think when we set an intention, focus on selflessness in our immediate relationships with our partner and our family, but even beyond, at least like mentally, at least in prayer to our community, to our country, and really believing it, not just like doing it so I'm a good person, but really feeling it and hoping for it. I think is so important, because if that's our orientation, then it's the best move for God to make to help make us, strong and capable and abundant warriors, So, yeah,
Love that.
yeah.
So let's move on to the second limiting belief that you had to overcome. And let's talk a little bit in the realm of business and entrepreneurship, because that is a
Dude,
big
yeah.
beast to overcome. So what's a belief that you had going into entrepreneurship? And then how did you expand that belief into, having a greater faith?
The belief that I needed approval from other people.
The validation.
The validation, whether it's from an investor, a customer, a government, whatever, like the social climate, whatever, but like the belief that my worth needs to be validated by checking all these other boxes and getting these other people to approve of me. To me, I think that's probably the root cause of it. There are other manifestations of it, but I think all like the belief that like I needed certain people with lots of money to be successful, which isn't true. um the need to conform in certain ways. um I'll keep it short for there and let you sort of pick what direction you want to go in,
No,
but
I think that you actually covered it very well,
yeah,
especially for like, non-entrepreneurs that may be above what they could really comprehend what you were saying. But for the entrepreneurs like myself, like I got what you said, and we're gonna get what you said because it's a
yeah,
long road. It's a hard road. It's
yeah,
oftentimes a lonely road in a lot of senses. Even when you have partners through it, it's still one of those lonely experiences in the sense of it, and it maps out in different ways. But and one of them is simply trying to share an idea to someone that is contrary to the ideas that are in existence.
yeah,
So you're simply trying to tell
yeah,
them like, hey,
yeah,
I get that this is how we've done it, but I'm trying to tell you that this is a way that it can be done.
yeah,
And the person just not the frustration, right? Is you meet the people who don't understand it, that's frustrating. And then there's another frustration for the people who will not accept it. You're like, no, 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 you understood me. I know you understood what I said. You just don't want to accept what I said. And that's a different level of frustration. I'm frustrated for the ones who don't understand. And now I have a frustration for the ones who do understand, but
yeah,
simply, no, I don't want to accept doing it another way. Like, I agree. You're right. But also, it's like, it's easier to conform to this. So that's what I've chosen. I've made a conscious decision. Like, they are deceived, but I've made a conscious decision that I will remain the status quo.
yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, I think a lot of people, I think particularly in today's age, I think most people know the truth in their heart about most of what's going on in the world. But most people in their day-to-day life are still probably choosing to comply with the program more than think about how to rebel from it or create, an alternative. And I hope that 2026, I think, has the opportunity to be a year to really cultivate this mindset shift and help show people, because there are people who are making it to the other side of being sovereign and independent and sort of being able to create um, in their own way, to encourage folks like you don't need to be afraid to step out and think in these new ways or work in these new ways and different sorts of things and challenge the status quo, because it's really really needed. Yeah, it's really needed, and I think for young people starting out or like emerging entrepreneurs, um don't think that you have to go do something so big, or you have to go move to New York or move to Silicon Valley. In a way, being in a smaller town where everything's cheap and you can be nimble and what have you has a lot of advantages, I believe, in this day and age. And with AI, so many of these tools are now democratized, where now individual creators have like equal horsepower to Hollywood studios with all audio and video and so many things. So I think there's new opportunities like never before. And I think the people who embrace sort of this new world that is arriving very fast will do really well, because the old model is not going to be stable for long. The university model is such utter shit. Like, it's not going to survive the transition to this next stage. It's just not. And so many of the jobs that have been sort of the safe jobs of the last 40, 50 years are not going to be safe anymore. We're already seeing it this year, with a lot of, corporate jobs and stuff getting cut. So I think we're in one of these periods where I think a lot of fat will be trimmed, and it's going to sort of force people to accelerate a mindset shift, you
I agree with you.
know?
I agree with you, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love how you mentioned that it's also the generation coming after us, the younger kids who
Yeah.
like they're listening to the conversations, they're seeing the world in the same way that we do, and the generation before us and generation before that, like
Yeah.
we're all observing what the generation before did with what they had,
Yeah.
and making adjustments to it. That 2% better is like, yeah, no, I don't think like continuing that is going to work for this generation. So we're going to do something a little bit different, do
It's
something a little bit different.
it's not gonna work. I mean, college is one of the things that kind of pisses me off because it's like, think about it. You have an army of administrators making 100K a year, 200K a year. Some of them much more than that, and you have the kids coming in, taking on the student loan debt. No one's telling them how it really works because, like, you can take a 50K loan and end up paying back 200K
Easy.
easily because of the interest. No one who's 18 really, I don't think, understands that.
Can I put a pin right? I'm gonna let you finish your thought. But imagine this, right?
Yeah.
Same kid,
Yeah.
17, 18 years
Yeah.
old. What bank can they go into and get a $50,000 loan for their business? They'll be like, no.
Yeah.
Like you have no credit history. You don't have this. You have
Wow.
no income. You have no. But the school system's like, yeah, you could take on 50,000 easy.
It's so pardon my French, but it is fucked up. And yeah, I mean, a new model needs to happen very, very fast. And I think I put a lot of responsibility on the parents to be aware and realistic and watch what's happening with these corporate jobs and like consulting and accounting and Amazon cut like another 20,000 corporate jobs like just this week they announced. I think it's like 30,000 in just the last little bit. So all of this is going to accelerate. College is not a safe bet. I don't think in many instances it's a good investment. And like to your point, yeah, why should like the administrator that's really has doing nothing that's actually creating any value to society get paid so much? Like we should be investing in the kids. 50K, 100K, start the business, put some guard rules around it of like, but let them play in the sandbox and create. I think that would be infinitely more valuable and productive and useful for the rest of society too.
Yeah, because at that age
Yeah.
in particular, we still are very green-eyed and bushy-tailed where we're like,
Yeah.
we want to do something impactful for the world with no regard to money.
Yeah.
We go into
Yeah.
these systems. They're like, oh, I'm going to do this thing because I'm passionate about it. I love it. I like it. I had a
Yeah.
positive experience, and I want to do this great thing. And it's not, generally speaking, at that point, it's not geared because, oh, choose the major that makes you the most money, or choose one.
Yeah.
It's like no, I just like, this is a thing that I would like. But obviously, when you get into the system, then all those other factors apply. But like you're saying, what if when you come in, it's like, hey, come with your best idea. We got the funding for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be an amazing place.
Exactly. Like there's a way to do this because I remember elementary school. The best learning experience I remember, we went to this thing called like Mini City or something, but this was in Nashville. But there's a big warehouse that you go inside, and it was set up like a little city with like a little town, and we all like played a role for the day. So someone was like the tax guy and the inspector, and then the different business owners, and there was money, and like I learned a lot from that, way more than fucking sitting in a classroom for just learning theory. Even business school, like I went to a name brand business school at NYU, but compared to like what the program that I was offered there, which was to be geared for Wall Street or consulting or whatever. And the world I encountered as an entrepreneur were very different worlds, and I had to relearn so many things. So yeah, nothing like pales to like the actual real world friction of going through it. And I think it's really important for sure. Yeah.
Well, it's been a great time together. Before I let you go, we got to do our wildfire questions. The first one I have for you is, you are looking to start a new business venture, and you're looking for another person to partner with, and you have to send them a movie, a tape, that they get to judge you based off of this movie and decide whether or not to do business with you. What movie are you recommending for them to watch? And they've never seen this movie before.
Man, like I would say I would say 2001, The Space Odyssey, Stanley Kubrick.
What is the scene that you would hope that this person remembers the most for you to have a conversation about at the first meeting?
I mean, not to spoil it for people, but I think the ending, the sort of the end, the impact of like this transcendent possibility, right? In the belief in that, that I think a lot of the big entrepreneurs of our age have had very radical imaginations for what they thought was possible. And so I think anyone that I would want to work with I'd want them to have that very open, unlimited mindset of what's possible. Because if we can't start from to where we started with you talking about imagination, like if we can't start with the fundamental premise that anything is possible, like anything actually is possible. So within that frame, what is it that we want to create? And how do we go from where we are today to that future? And what are the different probabilities? Like if we can't just look at that with a blank slate, like I think that's really important for anyone that we would work with because yeah. Like there's so many things that are possible. There are more possibilities now than at any other point in history. Like I believe just the level of distribution and maturity of technology in people's knowledge. And so yeah, that's what I would say. Like just fearless creating without boundary. Yeah.
Here's the next question. So you have to do a race. You can pick the distance, 10-yard dash, 30-yard dash, whatever the case may be. You have to pick an animal to race against. Here's the caveat. It has to be a legitimate race, which means that it's somewhat fair. You could win, you could lose, but you don't really know. What animal are you racing? Like, what animal has the best opportunity to be in the realm of being able to do a race, but they're not going to completely smoke you, but they're also not going to be a sloth and like you're going to smoke them. Like, you have to pick an animal that I think this would be somewhat of a fair race.
Just speed alone is the variable.
Yeah, I think that you're
like
going.
we don't fight each other along the way. Man, that's a good question because most animals are pretty fast. Like four-legged, animals are pretty fast. I don't know. I'd love to like race a raccoon to see if I could really catch it. Like when I see them in the yard, like
Yeah, I think a raccoon.
could I catch this thing? Like, could I actually catch this thing? Because we had when we had our house in Florida here in near Gainesville or in Gainesville, we raised peacocks, and like the raccoons would like get in the cage and like they would never actually do anything. Our peacocks are really fierce, but it would worry my wife and whatever. So yeah, I'd want to race one to see like could I catch this thing if I really needed to.
Awesome, love it. All right, so here is a question for you. Based off of the time that we've spent together, this is the option that you have. So someone is either going to give you $1 million or they're going to give me $10 million. After the moments that we've had together, would you rather take the $1 million for yourself, or would you consider allowing them to give me the $10 million and seeing if I would share with you? Where would you go?
I'd be open to the conversation because I would be confident in my ability to convince you to invest in me.
Love it.
And so we can create a mutually beneficial kind of mandala where we can grow that wealth into something much more than that. So yeah. We could have a conversation about that.
Yeah, I feel confident that I would probably make the same bet too.
Yeah.
Where it's like I also, you know what? I heard this quote one time where the guy talked about entrepreneurs are the real gamblers of the world. Like we
big time, yeah.
It's
big
like,
time.
It's like we really love risk and reward systems. It's like that's really what drives it. So in that same instance, like how my mind thinks of it is like, okay, I could get $1 million, but it's like at the rate that this person's not even fair. They decided they're only gonna give me $2 million and they keep $8 million. I was like, it's a good chance that I get $2 million instead of one. I was like, I would take the risk of maybe you give me half, maybe you just give me a little better than what I have.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
feel
For sure.
I would feel compelled to take the risk. Because
Yeah.
also too, a part of my mind would just be like, okay, I could probably make $1 million. It's
Yeah.
like, but this is an opportunity to have the opportunity of $10 million and the reward of it. And then once again, my mind, not everyone else, because some people think I'm crazy. My mind would also be like, I'm okay for today. Like the way I'm looking at the decision is like, this doesn't make or break me. If I get the $1 million, cool. If I don't get the $1 million, totally fine. Doesn't make or break me.
Yeah.
But the opportunity to get $10 million or a portion of the $10 million, that'll probably be more than $1 million, is enough reward for risk for me to says, I've spent enough time sitting across from this person that I feel like I'm not a complete stranger. This person at the very least is going to be like, hey, you gave up $1 million so I could have 10 million.
Yeah.
I'll probably give you at least $1 million or better.
Yeah.
Like that, that's the way that I would look at it.
That's fair. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's think
I
of
agree.
last wildfire question for you. Let's say, would you rather lose hearing for 1 year or eyesight for 1 year?
Hearing.
Why?
I don't know. I'm a very visual observer and listener, but I think visually, like I like to just see things myself. Like I like going in person to things to see and to feel. I think visual is very connected to my sense of feeling, and that's sort of how I operate my life, very like intuitively, with a lot of just like feelings like in my body. And so I think the visual cues are really important signal for me.
Well, with that, I give you a follow-up. So we do a procedure where you now get your wife's eyes, right? They're implanting you, and you now get to see the world from her eyes in every sense of the word, every aspect that you could ever imagine, spiritual, mental, emotional, every way that she does it. Now, I want you to describe what the world looks like now.
Yeah, I mean, I would take that bet, or take that opportunity. Yeah, I mean, the world would, to my wife, looks like a sea of endless like beauty and possibility. Like that's really the way that she sees it, and she has the ability to transform any situation into something, into something beautiful. And so again, like that's why, like I really have a lot of appreciating for what we may call like that, like, feminine dimension of intelligence, but just like that intuitive ability she has to just perceive a situation and know what the best answer is without having to go through all the logic. Actually, like that's like the brilliance. It's like just to like see a situation and immediately be able to see the best possible outcome. I'd love to have that ability, and I'm definitely working on it. Because it's like it's a real superpower, and I think a lot of the most successful people have that superpower where they don't need to go through the whole logical process to find the best solution.
If you had to leave us with one guiding principle of the growth mindset and how to abandon limiting beliefs and adopt beliefs that allow you to go further beyond what was handed to you, what would that guiding principle be?
I think that aspiration is really important, and being very clear and specific about what your aspiration is or aspirations are, because like there's no other signal that you really have to give to the universe other than sort of what your dominant thought and operating system is. Like, what is the vision I'm really moving towards? What am I aspiring for? And it doesn't necessarily, I don't think, need to be defined as like, I want to be a doctor, I want to have this job, I want to have that. But just whatever's like naturally arising, just emotionally, spiritually, purpose or work in the world. But I think spending the time to meditate and reflect on my aspirations, because sometimes they change and I don't realize that they've changed, right? Like I still think I'm in a certain program, but then I sit and I reflect and I write, And I realized actually I'm in a different season in my aspiration. It's already changed, but I just haven't articulated it yet. And as soon as I articulate it, it's like everything becomes so much more clear. So if folks can take 10 minutes and do that, I think that'd be worthwhile.
I love that. Well, why don't
Yeah.
you go ahead and tell the people where they can find you, where they can connect, and how they can support the vision of what it is that you and your wife are doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think our the best socials would be our at I Love Oneness on Instagram. Neha's on X, Dr. Neha Rajay. Her official handle is like the hemp goddess. That would be great. And then we're launching some online funding for our plant medicine business, which maybe I can share with you,
Yeah.
and you can link to that in the show notes. And then I'm also in the early stages of also raising our own investment vehicle to invest in young people, kind of creating technology that I would call like system liberating technology. So these aren't not some little widget that like, that we want to go sell to like Samsung or something later on, but something that to help just, move towards liberation and freedom like we attempt to do with our medicine and the different plant technology infused plant products that we make. So that's in the cards as well.
Love it.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Well, thank you so much for joining me on the growth mindset and being a part of this moment together.
Yeah,
I've
thank you,
enjoyed it.
Nehemiah.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
conversation.
So great.
And yeah, and for all of you at home, I hope that you've enjoyed it. Join us back for another installment of the growth mindset and have a great one.